Tesla has a giant advantage: price and availability. In theory, they can already make a car today that's around $30,000 cost that drives itself and doesn't require a driver when unsupervised FSD is dropped on the fleet. I wonder who's going to do a better job of meeting supply. A third-party app that has to lure in drivers to be on their platform, or a company that can spit out the equivalent of the global Uber fleet every year, okay? Most of the population understands the net positive to society that someone like an Elon Musk has had. Are there people that will drop the brand because of what he said or what publications are pushing? Sure. Will that net number be significantly bigger in the long term because the technology is undeniable? Absolutely not. What really makes America awesome is the fact that we enable and incentivize smart people to do really cool shit.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tesla Fix. Today we talk about big topics because Tesla just dropped a new video about the RideHailing of the Robotaxi, and I want to also go into the differences between the US and Europe and bureaucracy a little bit, and also about the election because it's a hot topic right now in the US, and I want to just brush over that topic and see if policies can change the trajectory of also electric mobility, how important that is. And for that, I have a very special guest, of course, a channel favorite here.
Welcome to Tesla Fix. Make sure to subscribe and like this episode.
Farzad is here yet again. I'm so glad you're back.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, people might know you from your knitting class.
How'd you find out about that? Yeah. It was on OnlyFans.
Please, to everybody in the comments, write if you found Farzad's OnlyFans and if you subscribed there too.
Yeah, God help you if that actually existed.
Yeah, there might be. I don't know. Somebody impersonates you. Oh, jeez. Yeah. So Farzad, thank you very much for being here, because I think since you interview so many people on your channel, you have a broad understanding of Tesla. You also do these nice re-edits of Elon Musk's speeches and and I always look them up on your channel at first. Then I'm furious that I didn't do them myself.
Shout out David.
And then I think about, should I just download them and re-upload them? But I never did. so I won't do that. But so you have a brief understanding also about the political landscape as well, because Elon also did a lot of things there. And I just want to talk about all of these topics kind of combined here in that episode. I want to start first with the Robotaxi and also with the SpaceX launch that happened before that. The giant booster got caught by Mechazilla, and I want to compare that to Europe because it's sad. It's just
sure.
Sad. Yeah, but maybe you can just get into the episode like this with me.
Yeah, of course. With the Robotaxi specifically, I think what's been interesting to track is the unveiling at the Robotaxi event was very much framed around this car only being without a steering wheel and pedal. But since then, we've spoken with Sandy Monroe on the channel. We've had Tasha and Daniel from ARC. Hans and I on our podcast, we've tried to sort of figure out what the hell is going on with this thing. We've tried polling people on X. What we're trying to figure out, and by the way, this trailer is so sick. I saw somebody say on X, he's like, why isn't this a Super Bowl commercial? And I'm like, that should totally be a Super Bowl commercial. I think that the interesting thing about this specific product here is that it seems to really fit into the niche or into the subsegment that Tesla is missing in its fleet, which is a compact car. It's a car that's smaller in size than the Model 3 and the Model Y, which makes it much more, much better for a lot of different parts of the world. So a lot of places like Europe, a form factor like this would be perfect, right? Because
this would sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, it would be insane, And so the question becomes, okay, how far away is Tesla potentially from selling this thing, let's say next year, with a steering wheel and pedal? Is that even an option, right? And if that is not an option, then what is the car that Tesla has been alluding to in their quarterly earnings report that is a new model, a more affordable model or models that are going to be launched next year in the first half of the year that are built on the same production line as their existing products, right? Which is going to add on the order of another 1 million to 1.5 million cars per year to their production run rate. That is a cheaper vehicle. Okay, so that's what this product brings up, and it looks so good. That side view of that car is so this is my favorite design from Tesla. Honestly, it truly is. because it's just it's so sleek. It looks a lot more expensive than it is, and that's when you know you have good design. What I equate this to is when Hyundai released their refreshed their sedan, the Sonata. I think it's a Sonata, right? And in the US, the Hyundai Sonata, maybe. But it was a sedan, and it looked so good. But it sold for like 25 grand. It was just such a beautiful curves. The headline design was beautiful. The brake light design was beautiful. The profile view was excellent. It looked good in every corner. No, from like 2005. Like you got to go back a lot of years. That I don't know what the hell they're doing now with their design language. It's like that to me doesn't look good at all. But their older cars looked like when they refreshed the Sonata and they came out with like this beautiful, like, anyway, I'm getting off topic. So I'm curious to see if this form factor is the more affordable car next year. But if it's not if it's not, and it's something else, but Tesla can still hit the lower prices. The end story here is that Tesla has the ability to turn on a fleet of millions of vehicles. Now that Tesla and Elon have confirmed that Hardware 3 vehicles will be upgraded with a free hardware upgrade to have unsupervised autonomy, right? This basically means that Tesla is going to be able to just upload a software like Elon has been saying for what feels like a decade, but it's truly going to happen. They're going to upload a software update, and then this thing's going to be able to drive itself anywhere where jurisdictions allow. And that vision, that promise is coming to fruition. And I think a lot of people, a lot of investors, a lot of people in the Tesla community, I've never seen as much confidence or as much renewed excitement about this before. I think this is by far the most excited I've seen people around this story, because now there's tangible evidence. And in addition to, when we spoke with Tasha and Ark yesterday on our pod, which dropped this morning on the channel,
check it out, please. Yeah.
Thank you. You see how I did that plug? That was proud of myself, tapping myself in the back there.
But we'll reach not so much people, but that's good. No.
We'll reach plenty of people, brother. We're good.
I know.
But so the one thing that Tasha highlighted, that her biggest takeaway, and Daniel's really his biggest takeaway as well, was that Tesla has been testing an unsupervised fleet in the Bay Area already for the last year. So think about that for a second, right? So what does that mean?
This one was so casually dropped.
So casual.
And almost like nobody, like, I'm always accentuating, but I felt like nobody picked that up, like, besides the Tesla community, but
yes,
Wall Street, who, I don't know. It's always sad, like,
it's a big deal,
because this is really a big deal. So even if it is it is like supervised, even workers could, but they tested the app, so the fleet was, you could order a taxi, and so they tested the software, and I mean, it's crazy.
But what's crazy about that too, if you take that a step further, right, is like, okay, so traditionally speaking, when a company is testing self-driving software, okay, it's obvious that they're testing self-driving software. Why is that? Because the cars look crazy. They look like submarines with like a bunch of sensors that are on the road or whatever. They just look like a complex mess. So you can't help but say, oh my God, look at that self-driving car, right? What is Tesla's weird advantage here when it comes to, like, not investment advice, not financial advice, but when it comes to surprising the market, is that it's impossible to tell if the car on the road is currently being driven by itself or by a driver, right? Because you're going to need that safety driver up front anyway. And I think this alludes to, like, Elon's comment around, what's crazy is that Tesla has normal looking cars, but they're not normal, right? And so what does that mean? It means that the point at which Tesla turns on self-driving, truly an unsupervised fleet that can generate revenue, no one's going to know, because it's impossible to tell. You can't tell that, like, unless you physically are working with that program and you're a safety driver and you violate your NDA and you go to the press and say Tesla's going to launch this on this day, or unless there's some sort of documents that are shown to the public through public filings or something with local jurisdictions, no one's going to know. And so that's why that comment on the call came as such a surprise, because it's like, okay, so like, and it kind of, Hans brought this up on the podcast, is like that app in that little video that Tesla showed a few months ago of like that woman getting in the car and, hailing the app, that was actually the thing that they're doing. It was actually the thing that they're doing. Okay? So
everybody thinks it's a concept video.
Yeah, no, they're
use
doing
case. Yeah,
they're actively doing it now. And then you fast forward that even further. It's like, okay, so what is the likelihood that Tesla now is in a position to roll out a direct Uber competitor where the safety drivers are not really safety drivers? They're just like your regular 1099s in the US. For those that are not familiar, like your European audience, a 1099 is basically an IRS a tax form that you send the government that says, hey, this is a contract, somebody that I contracted, but I don't have to pay them healthcare or nothing. I'm just contracting them. And that's how Uber works in the United States. When you're an Uber driver, at the end of the year, when you earn your money, you get a 1099 from the IRS saying like, hey, this is how much Uber said you got paid, which then you have to file with the government that says, hey, I owe taxes on this money, right? So Tesla could do that. And they could create this incentive structure that says, okay, so we now have created an Uber competitor, but we're going to leverage our customers to drive that. Oh, and by the way, if you're a Tesla owner, if you come drive for Tesla instead of Uber, we're just going to have you earn more because we're going to try to attract you, right? We're going to try to attract you. Oh, and by the way, if you use self-driving while you are driving, right? The more you use self-driving, the better your earnings get, right? And then it becomes this like forcing function to draw people to the thing, right? And then eventually they're going to be like, okay, by the way, now we're at the point where you don't even have to be in the car. So you can earn about the same amount or maybe a little bit less, but guess what? You don't even have to be in the car anymore. So would you like to add your car to the fleet? Okay. And then say you're somebody, take it another step further. So you're somebody who doesn't want to be in the car or doesn't want to even let the car be part of the fleet. Say what happened in Austin happens again from a couple weeks ago. We have a huge music festival with ACL. We have an F1 race. We have a giant college football game with Texas, Georgia. So like there's a ton of people in the area and the surge pricing for ride hailing is insane, right? So if I'm somebody who doesn't want to put my car in the fleet, but I own a Tesla and Tesla has a fleet of driverless cars, what's the likelihood that Tesla's going to be like, hey, Mr. Sir, there's a giant surge in demand for vehicles, but we don't have enough cars. If you add your vehicle to the fleet, you are projected to earn $500 per hour. Would you like to add your car to the fleet? What other player has that? What other player has that?
I would send my car over.
Yeah.
I would export my car to the US.
Yes, exactly. You put it on a ship. You would send it to the US. But
if Tesla pays that, obviously.
Exactly.
Because
but
shipping
there will
is
be
very
situations.
expensive.
There will be situations where that happens. I mean, I can't tell you like how many times, when I used to live in Pennsylvania, we would go out to the bar. And then I remember on New Year's Eve, I took an Uber with my wife from a bar to the house. And it was a 5-mile, 10-kilometer ride. We paid $180, Jan. And it was a 15-minute ride.
That's insane. That's insane.
But that's the kind of surge pricing that exists. So then like if you're able to earn that money, you don't even have to be in the car. You just click a button and the car goes. That is what Tesla has set up. That's what Tesla has. And then when I hear, oh, Uber is going to partner with Tesla, Uber is going to be a competitor to Tesla, it's like, no, Tesla's just going to destroy Uber. Uber's only way to survive in this market is to just buy a bunch of Teslas and put it on Tesla's network. They go from being a ride-hail provider to being a fleet operator, right? That's the only. But that's not
like show can be as well.
Exactly.
Like
anybody can do that. I can do that. You can do that. Yeah. Our parents can do that. Yeah. So
yeah, and you touched on a very interesting point here because I think, obviously, the sole scenario you just pointed out is, of course, if Tesla would come up with a Uber competitor now, kind of, that's already, you can already do that. So just for everybody now screaming, that's ridiculous, Tesla would just let them self-drive. I wanted to remind, because the point I think is very important. Because obviously Tesla has a way bigger advantage because if regulation in their test phase goes through, then they can just say, ta-da, it's our magic trick worked, that we prepared for years and years and years in the whole concept of the production of the car even. Because the Model 3 has a screen in the back. Do you really think it's just about entertainment, or is it about to put in the address and select something? Music, climate. That's the point. So
you can do that in the app anyway. Like when you RideHail the app, it's already self-populated for you.
Sure, absolutely. But I mean, like this whole concept is more than just a screen to have entertainment. But
yes.
This one is so crazy, and even like I think the scenario you've highlighted here is they could already like put pressure on Uber significantly.
Yeah, they could do that now.
Yeah,
without a driverless network, just by rolling out that app, and then just making a forcing function for Tesla owners to, instead of drive Uber, drive Tesla, drive for Tesla instead, and Tesla can create a carrot that says, if you drive for us, you'll earn more than Uber.
Yeah, it makes it's an interesting scenario there.
Get data from that.
Yeah. And also what you've touched on is interesting. Because we talk about ride hailing because of the trailer as well. I mean, there's one concept, but when, like you said, a festival is on, Tesla has an advantage because they gather data in the car already. Google has, with data of people that navigate somewhere, they have the biggest amount of crazy data for that. For example, how many people are in the Starbucks or whatever, they see the peak times and everything, they can select that. So they can,
program? They
whatever.
can plan for. Predict.
I don't know. Yeah, they can, sorry. Oh, jeez. They can predict also the demand, like you said, like the demand for the festival, with also the search terms, and not only that, but also that people have that in their Google calendars, for example, and blah, blah, blah. But Tesla also has, since they link the calendar and stuff like this, I think they can also get enough or significantly enough data to realize, there's something happening. They even can collect data from third-party data collectors and whatever. But you have this thing that automatically shows this network where the peak times are, where it's important to place Robotaxi, where they are needed. And if they have a fleet, then they can just deploy more, for example. And since you can own them yourself, you can buy one Cybertruck or 3 of those and have a ride-hailing, like you're a fleet operator with that.
Yes.
And then those things pay for your Cybertruck that you wanted initially. So that's a way better deal, since they are so passive and they are self-cleaned and everything, if they have like cleaning stations, Tesla itself. But it just makes sense because they have this hybrid of people. You can be a fleet operator and they outsource this, but the cars are in the network of Tesla, and the bigger network kind of, and they're going to get cleaned and everything. So I think it's an interesting concept there, what they are doing. That's why Uber can compete. That's what I wanted to get into.
100%. And I mean, but ultimately it's price. Ultimately it's price and availability. So how is price dictated? Price is dictated by profit margins. If you are able to have a lot of profit margin, you have a lot of pricing power, which means that you are able to adjust the pricing to meet the demand that you want, basically, right? That's a just rough way of thinking about it. If Tesla's able to manufacture these for 20,000 or even under 20,000 or whatever cars they sell, like because all of them can do it, the Model 3, the Model Y, doesn't matter. In theory, they can already make a car today that's around $30,000 cost that drives itself, okay? And you don't have to buy any additional sensors or whatever, and doesn't require a driver when unsupervised FSD is dropped on the fleet, okay? The pricing power for that, the ability for that product to be cheaper than an alternative car that needs a driver and uses gas and has higher maintenance costs and has potentially higher insurance costs, right? Like, you've won on price already. It becomes obvious that if you don't need a driver, the cost per mile plummets. So that's number one. And then number two is availability. Availability is directly correlated with scale, with how many cars are on the road. I wonder who's going to do a better job of meeting supply. A third-party app that has to lure in drivers to be on their platform, or a company that can just spit out how many cars it needs. That can spit out the equivalent of the global Uber fleet every year. Okay? Literally, Tesla is able to manufacture Uber's global fleet every year. So supply and scale Tesla has a giant advantage. So the two most important variables for ride hailing, Tesla has a giant advantage: price and availability. Price is through profit margin, which Tesla's going to have a giant profit margin on these things, self-explanatory. And then supply and availability is directly correlated to scale, and Tesla has by far the biggest scale of self-driving vehicles. It's over.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
Speechless.
And also, if people think, yeah, but Uber is such an established app, how will they be easily replaced? It just needs one festival, I think, one festival where they price gouge. They start to raise the prices, like the bar example you've just said. And then they're going to say, you know what? You're going to get 50% today. How about that? And do you think like the networks will collapse?
Bro, and what's even better,
that day?
Not only is it cheaper, it's better because it's private. Okay. You have a giant screen. The seats are going to be comfortable. You know exactly what you're getting. You're not going to be stuck in someone's Toyota Corolla back seat, or like a Renault Zoe or a Peugeot 206 or something. You're not going to be stuck in the back.
Or a Twizy that doesn't even have real doors on the side.
Exactly. You're not going to be stuck in one of those. You know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to be extremely comfortable. You're going to be private, and it's going to be cheaper. The equation has broken. Is going to break. Rather, it's going to break, and so seems obvious. I mean, but it hinges on Tesla's ability to actually have unsupervised self-driving. But the fact that they're already testing this in Palo Alto says that they actually have it. They have it. They just need to get it to a safety level that is acceptable accepted by regulators, and it doesn't seem like they're that far off. It just doesn't seem like they're that far off. And people that have been driving FSD in the United States can attest to this.
Yes,
they can attest to this.
Yeah. It's insane. It's actually insane and I think this is the perfect transition to the next topic, because I want to talk about this pretty much because we saw a giant booster being catched by Mechazilla, by this huge tower. Because regulation is an important topic, because in Europe, actually, this is a different story. In the US, they already are testing. You have the groundworks there in the US, the way the US is set up. You can do stuff like this. You can test. You have a different regulation type. The judicial system kind of is upside down, kind of. In Europe, it's more like companies have to be approved beforehand, like crazy, like for every little detail. That's why everything is so effing slow. And then you have the US, where you have more leeway. You can do more as a company without regulation. But if you screw something up, you're going to get sued big time.
You ask for forgiveness, not for permission.
Yeah, exactly. You said that before. That's a very great quote. I know it's not from you, but still, it's good. It should.
When I heard it, I loved it.
Yeah, it's awesome. But something like this wouldn't have easily happened in Germany, actually, or in Europe. That's what happened.
Freedom looks so beautiful, doesn't it?
They catch the Statue of Liberty. They catch the Statue of Liberty.
You better get it right, brother.
Yes. The French gave it to you. So
yes, they did.
Yeah. That's so interesting. We have this, and I'm 100% sure nobody can do this. This was on the servers of the US. That's the only way to do it there, because the regulation were good. China could have maybe done it because their regulations are also different. When the CCP wants to do something, they're going to get it through it. No questions asked, even if they have to get people away from the area and everything. So that's not an issue there. It's sad for me to see from here what's happening there, and also experience an FSD and steer-by-wire, for example, and then I come back here as a peasant and feel like, oh, jeez, what is this? This is crazy. Why do we have to turn this like a ship wheel, whatever it's called? Yeah, Europe.
It makes me proud. It makes me proud to be an American. Proud to be an American. Yeah. So, Adam, I mean, listen, I think if it wasn't for Tesla, America wouldn't be much different from everywhere else, to be completely honest. Yeah. Because a lot of America is old in legacy. A lot of America feels old. It feels broken. It feels like it's falling apart. It really does. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm somebody who has had the fortune of like driving a lot through the States. Like I've seen a lot of different pockets in the country. And a vast majority of the country by square feet, okay? By like landmass, feels old and beaten down. It does, because, you know, a lot of it is because of the flight of manufacturing away from the country that started in the mid 90s towards the late 90s, especially. A lot of communities got destroyed because of the flight of manufacturing away from the United States and mainly to China. Right, so that's destroyed a lot of
Detroit
Detroit was completely demolished. I mean, where I'm originally from in the U.S., Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, they were the largest producer of steel in the world during World War II. Giant steel town, Bethlehem Steel. Shout out 18017, the 610 area code. But I think the return of manufacturing and innovation through companies like Tesla and SpaceX, which are led by a singular person, Elon Musk, which one political party in the United States has fully embraced, right? This being the Republican Party. Like that is a sign of the times where America's returning and is being recognized again for its innovation and its manufacturing and its ingenuity and its speed and its like technology and how cool it is. Before that even, I mean, you've had a lot of innovation, but it hasn't been really in the manufacturing and hardware and like these giant pieces of technology. It's been more like software, the internet, smartphones, computers, stuff like that, right? It's been a lot more digital. But now America is getting back to physical innovation. And that is a lot easier to see. It's a lot easier to be inspired by because it's not as esoteric. It's not like, oh my God, the neural nets that we're using to program the software is so incredible. What a giant change. And people are going to be like, okay, I can do stuff faster on my phone. But then when you watch a giant rocket land on a tower, you're like, holy shit, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's a very big
It's a very
difference.
visual manifestation of the system. So
huge.
Yeah.
That's such a good way of putting it.
Obviously, like over the years, I think the US was seeked out before. And listen, Farzad has a history. Tell them, where were you born and raised? I mean, you were in Spain, exactly, in Europe. So you had a percentage of your life in Europe and then you moved over with your family.
Yes.
And
for the American dream.
That's a big point because I'm half American. I live in Europe. I was raised here. I was born here and everything. So I can't be president, but hey. But it's interesting to realize this because for me, I had a phase because I'm heavily influenced by American pop culture. And seeing now that the US it felt like also the division was crazy. We also feel this division in Europe as well, but it's different because the US were so good in putting stuff out there that people seeked out for. And now they do that again. I was inspired by the two boosters landing at the same time to get to my Tesla journey here. Why am I doing this channel in English? Because I don't want to argue with Germans in the comment section because it has no point, because the way the mindset is not for growth, it's for safety and security and safety, just that. And the Germans are so stubborn with that, and that will kill them in the end economically, because VW will gonna get
they're
busted out of the water, but the German state will pour so much money into that money pit, almost like you can demand jobs. At some point, it's planned economics. You have to have a planned economy to do something like that, to say, no, we hold these jobs, but people have to buy these products. How do you force people to buy anything? If the product is inferior to another product, they cannot do that. So in the end, they're going to pour a lot of tax money in the end into that for a thing that is just something from the past because they screwed up. They just did. And yeah, that's sad to see. And in the US, it's a different story. I think this pioneer spirit came up again with those pictures, with a rocket being catched. And that's why I'm a little sad that in the political landscape right now, because you have the elections, the division is like always pretty crazy in the US.
It's manufactured, though.
It's
manufactured. It's media.
That's why I also think talking face to face in a calm environment where you just see each other, you are civil in the discussion, because online it's a different story. It's just like,
forget it.
It could be bots, it could be that, and then it's skewed and whatever. It's a different way to communicate. But how's your view on that, like the whole discussion there? Because I think that's important. You can be proud of the stuff you have in the US. You experience FSD every day, going to work, commuting, summoning your car on parking lots. That's normal for you right now. For us, nowhere in the world this system exists. You have to think about that. That's crazy. That's just crazy, in my opinion. Yeah,
it's awesome. I mean, it's amazing. It really is amazing. And it has been happening in the United States sort of undercover for a while. But I do feel like the population is waking up and wising up to what makes America awesome. It really, like, what really makes America awesome is the fact that we enable and incentivize smart people to do really cool shit. And that's ultimately why America has been the greatest country on earth. I'm sorry to say it, but that's why. It's because of economic prosperity. I am of the view that economic prosperity is the number one variable to have a strong nation, to have a nation of people that are happy. If you don't have economic prosperity, you will not have a happy population. And I know there are other countries out there that rank higher on the quote unquote happiness index, right? But none of the countries that are high on the happiness index have bad economies. They all have good economies. At the very least, they have good economies. You can't have an economy that is going down and also be happy. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of the United States has felt like the economy is going down, and that's why they are unhappy. Like that, and it's like sort of a dichotomy. Like it's like a weird way. It's esoteric in a way, because if you look at the top line statistics for the United States, you see GDP going up, right? You see average wealth going up and whatever. But what has been happening is that a lot of this wealth is accruing to the tech people, to the tech giants, to the people that have been working on software. And the number of people you need on software is orders of magnitude less than the number of people you need on hardware and physical work. With the return back to working on physical stuff like cars and rockets and etc., you're automatically allowing a much larger percentage of the population to win with the economy. But as we continue to go into the future, the disrupting force will be automation and artificial intelligence, which are the technologies that are driving a lot of the awesomeness today in the United States. But this is going to turn into a 3-hour-long conversation. I don't want to hit it too hard, but what happens as we go down that path, right? So like the key becomes like, hey, now that you're building momentum on the awesomeness of American ingenuity and innovation, how can we make sure that people continue to win and continue to keep winning on this economy versus the flip side, which is like we kill the momentum and then we put everybody out of work through artificial intelligence and robotics and whatnot. So I'm very positive. I'm very, very optimistic. I feel very, very optimistic. Yeah. I feel a very big shift in the population. I feel a big shift in the zeitgeist, which I think is a German word.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I feel a big shift, and the shift is positive.
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about this because policies also affect all of this, obviously. I mean, there is a problem in the US with securing people. That's a problem, but it's about the different ideas that you have. You almost have construed ideas. The one is, for example, having pioneering spirit, being self-employed kind of all the time. When you're not secure, you get used to survival and you get better at survival, and it's a tougher game, but in the end, the outcome's gonna be bigger. But people get wiped out by this like crazy. Like we see that homelessness and everything, but in Europe, for example, we have a system, everything is secured. So we're super good in security, especially in Germany. We're super good.
Talking about like welfare state and stuff.
Or welfare system is good. But is it really effective? Do we want to incentivize some things? Because sometimes it's economically more sound to be unemployed than to be employed. How the hell is that working? These policies were made in the 60s where we had so much money that we could have a system like this. But then the economy went off balance kind of. And then we have a different situation now. It's too expensive, the system. And since we are not good at supervising this stuff, everywhere people are misusing the system like crazy. Also like with sick days and leave days, the things that we saw in Giga Berlin was unprecedented because actually it is allowed to visit the person that's sick at their home to check if they're there. That's the right of the employer. But no employer in Germany enforces this because it's not popular to do this. You can't do this. But you can. Something like that to see is sad because also the hire and fire mentality you have in the US is like you're not content with the worker and vice versa, then you can just change. I think it's important for innovation. It's super good to have a system like this. So that's just what I wanted to say. And I know you're time constrained and we need to wrap it up soon. I want to just end the episode with that last picture here because that's what German media kind of, it says.
Enemy number 2, right? Can I try to pronounce that real quick? Tell me if I'm doing it right. Staatsfiend Nummer 2. That's not even close.
So, yes, the audience, please, here in the comments, everybody who's German speaking? Do you think Farzad butchered this? Or I think it was perfect German in my opinion. And I kind of heard a Spanish twist to it.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah. Why that article? Like, help me understand why publish that article in German media, no less. What is that?
I think it has multiple things. I cannot explain that in 2 minutes. I think it's too big of an issue to go into. But in the end, I think it doesn't matter which side or whatever you like more or not. For me, it's about the way you discuss things. And I'm actually a centrist, and I believe in technology very much. I'm for a technocracy, kind of solving problems through technology, just that, and just focus hardcore on this. That's why I love the Elon Musk company so much, despite I don't like what he said here or there, but whatever. For me, it's about the results, and they speak for themselves. That's why I'm glad that he still is operating with his team and pushes forward for this. And I don't really care which political side he's on. It's about the right or the left has policies that make sense and policies that don't make sense. And also of a maturity of a country or not. When you have a great economic bloom, then of course think about social security and everything. Do that. But if your system cannot pay for this, then it doesn't work. Yeah. It's easy as that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a capitalization of the times. That's what it is. And I think the trend I'm seeing in the United States is like headlines like that would just make people want to go to those publications less. I agree with you. I think most of the population understands the net positive to society that someone like an Elon Musk has had. And it's objectively true. Elon Musk is objectively better for society than he's not. It's objectively true. And people that disagree with that are brainwashed by mainstream media. It's that simple. Because they're somehow equating words to actions, right? It's very, very strange. And mainstream media is capitalizing on this dynamic, which is a dynamic that they themselves created by radicalizing the population through insane articles and insane premises. And they've had a monopoly on information for far too long. And now with the advent of the internet and independent media, which has now gained gigantic steam through podcasting and platforms like X that are much more free and open and can actually delve into topics much more fairly and much more nuanced, articles
and
like
longer,
that.
And longer and not cut out of context in long form. Yeah.
So when I see a cover like that or like a headline like that, I'm like, this publication is dumb. That's a dumb publication. I don't care about Trump's politics. I don't care about Elon's politics. That publication is fucking stupid. And they're going to fail. Because the people are sick of it. Excuse my French. Or my German.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I get your point. I think it's interesting. Does this have an effect on Tesla? I would say
no.
Yes. Wait. Yes. In Europe, at least. For example, just a small example. A friend of mine also bought Tesla shares at some point. He was like, he doesn't have any clue about anything kind of, so he just freeballed it more or less and read headlines and stuff like this. Months ago, whatever, he sold, even with a loss, I think. So just because of this stuff. And I'm like, oh, God, you're lost. Because in the end, it's just about, can you call a Robotaxi?
Exactly.
You cannot buy SpaceX shares, but there are ways to invest in a huge investor round. You can bulk together and invest there. These things are crazy. Starlink is crazy. Governments can't shut that off. They have to shoot every satellite. It's not possible. It's independent internet. It's crazy. It's the biggest invention in the last
That's why I say there's no impact.
Internet.
The short term, medium term is like people will make dumb decisions based on emotions. And then after a while, they realize their dumb decisions and their dumb emotions at the time. And then they'll reverse course and they'll act in a rational way. Humans in the long term act rationally, but there are pockets of irrationality. And the way media is able to manipulate the population is very real. It's very, very real in some countries more than others, unfortunately. But over time, the economic function and the economic benefit of the technology will win. It doesn't matter. Like, this is all bullshit. This is all a waste of time, and it has been for the last few years. It does not matter. Are there people that will drop the brand because of what he said or what publications are pushing? Sure. Is that a big number? Absolutely not. Will that net number be significantly bigger in the long term because the technology is undeniable? Obviously. That's it. We're done.
Because in the end, people are still driving with horse and carriage in the end. And then they
Exactly.
suddenly realize, okay, I mean, for my comfort, I would say I don't like Elon's politics, but I like his cars.
Even
and
better.
suddenly
Even
they shift
better.
over.
How many people hated Jeff Bezos because he's an evil billionaire, but they stopped using Amazon? How many people is that? 0.
Yes.
Okay? That's what's going to happen with Tesla.
Yeah, true.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you having me on, dude.
See you for that. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.